By now you should have the quadratic formula memorized. You should also be pretty good at using the quadratic formula to solve some quadratic equations. This video will help you to improve your skills with quadratic formula by looking at some of the more complicated cases. Alright, so we're going to do two examples. First one we'll do together, second one you're going to do on your own. Alright, so we want to solve this quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. Alright, first, don't forget that we want to have 0 on one side of our equation before we use our quadratic formula. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. And then I get 2x squared plus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. Now that I have one side of our equation equal to 0, I'm ready to plug into our quadratic formula. Right? So our quadratic formula, remember, is the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. Alright, let's go ahead and plug in our values. So our b value is 4, so the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so this is going to be 4 as well, minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. Alright, let's continue simplifying here. So this is going to be negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16. And then here's where people tend to make mistakes. You got to be really careful here. So negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. And then negative 8 times negative 5, that's positive 40. All divided by 4. If we keep going, we're going to have negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 56, all divided by 4. Alright, we're still not done. This can be simplified some more. Alright, you'll notice here we have the square root of 56, and that is a radical that can be simplified. So let's simplify that over here to the side. So if we can break this down using a factor tree, and I know 8 times 7 is 56, 8 is 4 times 2, and 4 is 2 times 2. Right? So we know that the square root of 56 is the same thing as radical 2 times radical 2 times radical 2 times radical 7. Right? And we know right here, radical 2 times radical 2 is 2. And then radical 2 times radical 7, that's radical 14. So we would have this. Negative 4 plus or minus the 2 times the square root of 14, all divided by 4. Alright, so we've got one more thing to do. We can still simplify this a little bit more. Right? Now, it may be very tempting just to say, oh, there's a 4 and a 4 here. We can just cancel those out. But what I want you to remember is that it's not just this front number that's being divided by 4. It's this whole thing, this whole numerator is being divided by 4. Alright, so we can think of this way. Negative 4 being divided by 4, plus or minus 2 radical 14 being divided by 4. Right? That makes this really easy to simplify. So this part, negative 4 divided by 4, that's easy. That's negative 1. And then this back part, 2 radical 14 divided by 4. Well, we can reduce this just like any fraction. Right? We can divide the top and bottom by the same number. Right? So I'm going to divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. 2 radical 14, if I divide that by 2, that would just get me radical 14. And then 4 divided by 2 is just 2. So this right here is my answer. Negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 14 divided by 2. Right? Notice right here, radical 14 divided by 2, this does not equal radical 7. You can't divide a radical by a regular number. Right? This is not radical 7. Okay? The only other way to write this, and this is optional, you can either write your answer like this, or you can also write your answer this way. Negative 1 plus radical 14, this radical 14 over 2, or negative 1 minus radical 14 over 2. Okay, so either way works. Alright, this one, I'd like you to do this one on your own. So please pause the video and go ahead and solve this on your own. All right, now that you did this on your own, let's go ahead and check to see what you did. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2x to both sides. That gets me 2x squared minus 8x minus 3 equals 0. Now that that's equal to 0, I can plug this into my quadratic formula. So this is going to be negative 8 here. That's my b value. The a value is 2. C value is negative 3. And then a value again is 2. Let's keep on going with the simplification. So x is going to be equal to 8 plus or minus the square root of 64. And this is plus 24 here, all divided by 4. So we have 8 plus or minus the square root of 88 divided by 4. All right, let's simplify the square root of 88. Let's do that off to the side here. If we break this down with our factor tree, I know that's 8 times 11. 8 is 4 times 2. This is 2 times 2. So radical 88 is the same thing as radical 2 times radical 2 times radical 2 times radical 11. And then right here, radical 2 times radical 2, that's 2. And then in the back, radical 2 times radical 11, that's radical 22. So we have 8 plus or minus 2 radical 22 divided by 4. Right? And don't forget here, both the 8 and 2 radical 22 are being divided by 4. So this would be 8 being divided by 4 plus or minus 2 radical 22 being divided by 4. And the final answer here, this would be 2 plus or minus radical 22 divided by 2. Right? Because I can reduce this, I can divide the top part by 2 and the bottom part by 2. Right? So you can either write your answer like this, or another way to write your answer would be like this. 2 plus radical 22 over 2, or x equals 2 minus radical 22 over 2. Right? Either way would be fine. Right? Hope you did well with that. We'll do some more of these in class.